Hello, my name's Dr. Sam Greenblatt, and I want to talk to you today about something that I think is very misunderstood. In fact, one of the most misunderstood diagnoses, in my opinion, and that's OCD. A lot of people from TV or movies think that OCD is all about just one presentation of it. Maybe people need to check things and turning on and off the lights, or I need to check the stove, or I need to keep things perfectly neat. But OCD is a lot more than that. It presents in ways in which people don't really recognize is actually OCD. And if they only recognized it and got the proper treatment, their lives could be much better. So I think it's really important for this information to be out there. This information could be useful for a lot of people because I've treated so many patients that were unaware that what they actually had was OCD for years and years and years. And the great thing about OCD is very oftentimes once you get the treatment works. It's really successful. So the first step is just awareness, and hopefully this video would help with that. So I'll talk today about a bunch of different types of OCD, and I'll use terms that are colloquial in describing the different brands of OCD. These are not medical terms, but they're used very often in the OCD community to talk about different types of OCD, just as a way of creating a common set of language that helps people understand in the shorthand what they're dealing with. So the first type of OCD that I'll talk about is one of the types that's more commonly recognized by people that aren't experts in OCD, and that's contamination. You think of someone who is afraid of contracting a virus or an illness. Oftentimes it could be a sexually transmitted disease, HIV, or even gonorrhea, chlamydia. Sometimes it's just about the flu. People can be afraid of contaminating themselves, contracting those illnesses, or they could have some sort of what we call responsibility OCD, where they're afraid of giving it to others. These individuals might avoid certain places that they think are dirty, avoid touching certain places, using Purell a lot, and things like that. That's one of the most commonly recognized types of OCD. Another very commonly recognized type has to do with ordering things in a certain way. That's often tied to what we call magical thinking. And magical thinking is, if I don't do something in a certain way, something bad will happen. So oftentimes this can be, if I don't touch the side of the door 4 times before I pass it, something bad will happen to somebody. Or if things aren't ordered in the perfect way, something bad will happen to myself or to someone I love. Maybe even something more benign, like I'll fail a test. But this magical thinking type of OCD often really disrupts people's lives. Now, like I said at the start of this video, OCD can manifest in a lot of ways that people don't really recognize. One of the most common types of OCD is what's often referred to as HOCD, which stands for homosexual OCD, a bit of an outdated term. And HOCD is a distress around the uncertainty of one's sexual preferences in a way that really significantly disrupts their lives. So I'm not talking about just the normal, typical development where one might question their sexuality and sometimes come at a conclusion that they're straight, sometimes come at the conclusion that, they're queer or otherwise. What I'm talking about is an obsessive preoccupation with one's sexuality to the extent that it really disrupts the quality of their life. Most often, the way that I see it manifested is somebody who experiences obsessive, intrusive thoughts about, what if I'm wrong in my determination about my sexuality? And this questioning differs from typical questioning about sexuality in that it's catastrophized and it's obsessive. What if I'm wrong? And if I'm making the wrong choice, all of these disastrous situations might happen and I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm doing all of these things to test the legitimacy of my beliefs, of my sexual orientation. Sometimes it means checking yourself for signs of arousal whenever you're around somebody of the same sex or even of the opposite sex, to constantly try to confirm or deny your hypothesis of your sexuality. So I see that one a lot. One of the ones that I think is most important to get out there is POCD, or Pedophilia OCD. And I think this is a really important one to have general knowledge of, because a lot of people with pedophilia OCD, or fears that what if I am a pedophile, mistake that for actual pedophilia. It's a completely distinct thing. POCD has nothing to do with actual sexual desire for children. Just like the other themes of OCD, all it has to do is that the theme of distressed uncertainty that your brain is consistently playing is, what if I'm a pedophile? But again, it has nothing to do with whether or not the individual is a pedophile or not. The reason that I think this information is so important to get out there is that so many people with this theme of POCD take longer than the average person with OCD to enter treatment for fear that the clinician will not be able to recognize it for the disorder that it is and will arrest them on the spot. So people with POCD will be terrified to be around children. They'll avoid relatives of their own. Oftentimes they will obsessively Google pedophiles to see what are the signs of being a pedophile, to consistently try to understand whether or not they are a pedophile. Another very common type of OCD is one that flies below the radar very frequently, and that's ROCD, or relationship OCD. ROCD is obsessive concerns about whether or not you've chosen the correct relationship for yourself. This can manifest in a few different ways. Oftentimes the thoughts are, is my partner attractive enough? Does my partner have this one quality that I can't stand? Will my friends think my partner is intelligent enough? But it's obsessive thoughts on, is my relationship correct or not, and going back and forth, trying to review, to understand the situation, to try to get it certain. Another type of OCD is Scrupulosity OCD. And this can often kind of coincide with fears of judgment from God or a higher power, even if the individual is not necessarily religious. So with Scrupulosity OCD, it's the fear of, if I do something wrong, I will receive either some karmic punishment, or I'll go to hell, or God will punish me in this life, or God will punish the people that I love. And it can manifest in so many different ways, like stopping in the middle of the street to do the sign of the cross, or standing on one leg while praying. And then one of the most tricky themes when treating OCD that I see come up, that a lot of times even experienced clinicians don't catch, is what Dr. Phillipson, an expert in OCD, has coined a backdoor spike. And the backdoor spike is OCD about OCD treatment. Obsessing about, am I doing the treatment right? Is my OCD something that is untreatable? And if I don't do the treatment correctly, will I never get better? Will I have OCD forever? So these generally represent a handful of colloquial terms of different brands of OCD. If you're experiencing obsessions and compulsions, meaning recurring thoughts about something, and actions or behaviors or thoughts that are meant to try to achieve a sense of certainty about that distressing thought, or avoid the distress around the uncertainty, and your topic is not amongst those that I've listed, it certainly does not mean that you don't have OCD. And I would recommend you finding a professional and getting yourself evaluated. If people are interested in working with me, I treat individuals in New York City, and I also work with patients through online platforms. And you could reach me at the contact information that you could see on the screen right now or below. And I hope that this information could be helpful to people who might be suffering from one of the most unrecognized diagnoses out there. So I hope this information was helpful, and I wish you the best of luck on your mental health journey.